Okay, so this is episode 3 of Talking Balls, comically named. It must be catching on. The Talking Balls podcast. This is episode 3, and I'm Wrighto74, and my guest today, a nice big build-up, really. No less than the world champion of the current game. That's not done you justice, really, Rainy. But big welcome to you to the podcast.
Cheers, Michael.
So good to see. What do I call you? This is the thing. I'm never sure, and I always ask straight away. Do we call you RainyLamb? I know your other name isn't that one. That's not the one you were given at birth, is it?
Yeah, no. Some people call me Rainy. Some call me Lamb. Scott's my real name, so that's fine as well. But yeah, whatever. Even some of my closest friends, they call me Rainy. So.
I know, that was funny. I think Mike, obviously Nograt, said that the other day. He was saying, didn't he, that he met up with Chef and they were calling each other by their gamer tags in person.
Yeah.
It's like a secret code, isn't it? So, well, just to open up, I mean, how did you get initially? I know you've been here before in this game in particular, this league. So I wonder if you just let us in a little bit in terms of how you got into it initially, what's happened since, and obviously you've come back in again. So just to know more about your background with the game, if you would.
Yes, it's basically I was just looking for competitive leagues because my games library is basically all sports games, and it's because I'm so competitive and I find it quite dull playing against the AI in all of them, whether it's Snooker, FIFA, whatever. So I like to play against other people. I think Lee Max said the same the other day. So I was just looking for leagues, found this one on Facebook, I think it was, joined it initially, and then it was a case of, because I had like invites from others as well, I just didn't really have time to do them all. And plus I think around that sort of time I was concentrating more on Master Plus difficulty level.
Right.
So yeah, that's why I didn't really stick around before, because obviously it's Pro Plus.
Yeah.
And I was sort of moving up there, but now I'm still doing another league on Master Plus, but something a bit different as well. Plus I'm trying to boost my channel, so it's just some different sort of series that I can do on Pro Plus, as well as the online tournament and things like that. So
right. So and I think there's something around, the game's maybe changing a little bit from when you started. I mean, there's obviously a bit more data in the website and the apps and things.
Yeah, I like because I've been chatting to Mike quite a lot, and I was having a look at the website and the app, and I like what they're doing with all the stats and doing it as like ranking money list and all that sort of thing, if you like, because I control the stats on a Discord league that I'm in for a Master Plus, and I do things like win percentages for matches, and individual frames as well, but I don't really do the sort of things that you do with like bonuses for centuries and maximums and all that sort of thing. So I'm a bit of a stats nerd, and that's what sort of interested me as well. I like to say something different to put on my channel as well. So
yeah. And you say about your channel, so is this your YouTube channel then?
Yeah, so I've got two. I've got my YouTube one, which I do for my PlayStation, and I do Twitch, which I do for Xbox.
Okay, right.
But yeah, the PlayStation's the main one for YouTube. So
right, people might want to check that out then. So that sounds quite interesting. And for anyone, I mean, I'm included in this, so anyone who hasn't played at kind of Master and used the extra settings and Plus or whatever, what are the main differences, just for anyone who doesn't know?
The Master Plus is essentially, the pot-in is the same as Pro Plus, but there's no white guide, so you're doing all of the cue ball control yourself. If you drop down one from that to Master level, the pot-in is equivalent to Pro, but with no white lines. So it's a little bit easier. But yes, just all about white ball control, really. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's really interesting. And so we said a bit about, you're more than a gamer tag. There's more to you than that. Is there anything you want to tell us about in terms of your own background or what you get up to outside of the game?
Most things now, because I'm getting older, I sort of like classing myself as retired. So I used to play a lot of like five-a-side football, Grew up playing snooker and then moved into pool and used to play in a few leagues of that. But again, with work now, because I generally work away during the week,
right?
And I'm only home on weekends, so I just don't have the time. So I've sort of like retired from it all now, and I just sort of game and stream and all that sort of stuff now. So.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, so yeah, it's quite a lot going on there than outside, and you sound like, I don't know whether you live where your accent comes from, but you sound like you're perhaps from the southwest somewhere.
Yes, I'm from Gloucestershire,
Right.
but my dad's side of the family are Bristol, so I've got like the full Somerset twang.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, that's the nice thing about this, I think, this league, and perhaps in your other ones that you're involved in, just that spread of people all from very different areas and backgrounds.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool, really. The one thing I want to ask you about, actually, in terms of the World Championship, so you're quite well heralded, really, on the group before you came in. You wouldn't have seen this, but obviously, Mike, let people know you were coming back in and introduced as the world champion. So some of us, well, maybe a lot of us, will have played in the online tournaments on the game and done the kind of the single frame, and you're trying to build yourself up. Would you just? I've got to be honest. I've never been anywhere near the top, so I wouldn't know what it's like. But B, I'm not even that sure how it works, because it feels as if you have to get a lot of games in, build a lot of points up, and almost just keep yourself up there. So what does it take to finish off that whole tournament as the world champion?
It varies tournament to tournament. So like my name got out there pretty early from when the game first came out. So I used to play it quite a lot on the online tournaments and won quite a lot of them. So I was quite well known. I think that's why I got the invite into the virtual worlds in the end. But like I say, I'm a bit of a stats nerd. So now and again I start recording my personal stats. So like, to go along with my channel for this year, I've been recording every single frame that I'm playing, like win-loss percentages and things like that, century percentages, maximum percentages, and all that sort of stuff. I haven't done that for the online tournaments for a long time, but I think the least I had to play one to win it was about 65 matches, so 65 frames. So yeah, I think that was the least. But again, it depends how everyone else is getting on, and if you have a few losses, because it's a ELO ladder system with the points, it takes a lot longer to get back up there.
Right. Okay. And again, it's just complete ignorance. It's not that I'm testing you, but you get match points, or you get points for how you've done during the frame, don't you? So if you're the winner, is that based on your scores, and it's not just winning, is it? It's about what you've done.
Yeah, it's I don't know exactly how it works, but from what I read, like I say, it's an ELO ladder system. I think it's based on 32 points per match. So when you first start, if you win your game, I think you get 16 points.
Right.
And then the higher up you go, you get a lower proportion of the 32 that's on offer. So if you're right at the top, or say in the top 4 or 5, you might only get 3 points for a win. But if you lose the frame, you'll lose 28 points, 29 points.
Right.
And that's what I mean. So like, you lose one when you're near the top, it can be 8 or 9 wins just to get back to where you were consecutively. So yeah, it's quite tough to stay up there. So you tend to find a lot of people will sort of like try and streak ahead early, and then they don't really play again unless people catch them up.
Right.
I tend to leave it a little bit. Like, I think there's one just started a couple of days ago. I tend to jump in a bit later, and then you can catch up quite quickly, because you're getting like the 16, 15, 14, etc. points per frame. And I tend to do it that way.
So there's a strategy behind it then.
Yeah, it all depends on what I'm working as well. So if I'm away or working from home and things like that, when I can squeeze it in, the kids as well. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, as we all do, I think, try to juggle. So in terms of the current game, then I'm just thinking outside of the game, the real sport, then, if you like, although this is becoming quite real the way it feels at times. But in terms of your favourite player, maybe past and present, have you got any that stand out for you that you've followed?
Yeah, I was always a massive Hendry fan. He was always the one for me. I've managed to meet him twice. Seems quite a nice guy as well. Only very briefly. Hopefully I'll meet him for a third time when I go to a Crucible next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was always Hendry for me. Current crop, I've never really sort of taken to any of them like I did with Hendry.
Yeah.
If I had to say, I'd probably say I do like Robertson. And probably I've always sort of semi-liked him, but since the virtual worlds, I've got a soft spot for Selby now as well.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's who I was repping at the time. So
right.
And I did a couple of radio interviews with him afterwards, and he's quite a nice guy. So
oh, cool.
So yeah, I think those two are the two that I'd support in matches. So.
He gets a bit of a bad rap sometimes, Selby, doesn't he, for his style? Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, to a degree, but if you're purely watching the snooker for entertainment, then you're basically a Ronnie fan, aren't you? Whereas if you're a true snooker fan, you appreciate Ronnie, but at their best, I still say Selby would beat anyone ever in a one-off match at their peak, because he's just got the all-round game. He can attack, get your 140s, etc., but he could just keep them quiet as well. So
yeah,
I wouldn't say he's the GOAT, but I think as a one-off match at their peak, I think he'd probably beat most of them. So, but I do understand why people find it dull. So.
Yeah, and that's the bit, isn't it? I know we've said on here, I think previously in some of the conversations about almost how you decide who the best is. You know, if you were to say who's the greatest of all time, a lot of people will go straight for Ronnie. But then you think, are we thinking more about great entertainers? You know, so Alex Higgins, well, he was an entertainer, but I'm not sure he was universally liked. And he hasn't got the most world championship wins. So where is he?
Exactly. Well, for me, I wouldn't argue that Ron is the greatest natural player, but the GOAT for me is Hendry, because not just world titles, but the level of dominance he had. And people say it's different level now, but in the next sentence, they say that the current crop are better than what Hendry had to go up against. And I don't think O'Sullivan's dominated like that. Plus his temperament lets him down for me. And for me, that if you're calling someone the GOAT, it's got to be the complete package. So yeah, for me, it's still Hendry. So
yeah, it's always a good debate, that one, isn't it? No one's ever going to win that one.
Yeah, exactly.
So looking back to the current season, now what I normally do is I ask players about the current season, how it's going. Obviously, you've not had the current season; you're kind of coming in to a new season, and but what you've had a little taste of, I guess, and I'm going back to last night. I hope you don't mind. But obviously, you've started now the World Championships. We had the draw last night, and a few people have already had their first session. And you were drawn with a Premier League player in Render. So how do you feel about that so far? A big break, I saw, by the way.
Yeah. So I'm 3-1 down after the first session. And he played really well. I've not played him before. Even when the stats come up, we were 0-0 on matches, and didn't know anything about him. That's the first I've learned what you just said, that he's a Premier League player. But you can see it. He played really well. He's got a solid game all around. So yeah, I've seen me going out first round potentially. But I think we're playing our second session later tonight, so hopefully I can bring it back a bit. So
yeah, and there's still time, isn't there? I mean, we're kind of first to 10 effectively, aren't we? I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, it's and certainly, I mean, I've only been, I'm very junior in this. I've only really been in the league a couple of months. This is my first season, and only downloaded it in August. So for me, this is all quite new. But what I notice is the higher you go, and I'm sure this is how you play. If you've got a 137 on your name already, but it feels like the slightest bit you leave out at all off the pack, so many players in this league in the top couple of divisions can just take that away, then open up off the black, and suddenly you might as well go and make a coffee or a pot noodle or something.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Like I say, I got 137 last night, which I think is the highest at the moment.
Yeah.
Even the first frame, I got in, went into the bench off the black, and the white went in. And that one, I was only on it was only the first black, and he had a break of one. I was eyeing up a 147 with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, didn't really have the round of balls. But to be fair, Render played really well. So yeah,
Right.
we shall see.
Yeah, watch this space then. So yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I think that's actually a really exciting thing about this with the way the World Championships has been done, because you're going to do it in multiple sessions, and it's a bit like the real tour, isn't it? Now you can look in on the app and see where people are at the end of their sessions, as opposed to just wait for the final score as per the league games. So I think that's really added.
Yeah, exactly. And I quite like the long distance of the matches as well, because over the long distance, I'm pretty confident against most people. I think with it being on Pro Plus, there is more scope for upsets, etc. Because like the Master Plus league I play in, realistically, there's only sort of 3, maybe 4 of us in there that are ever going to win one of the tournaments.
Right.
Especially as you progress through the tournament and the matches get longer. But on Pro Plus, the people have got a lot more of a chance, because the level of Pro Plus has gone up a lot over the last sort of like year or so. Yeah,
it certainly feels like that. And even looking at some of the scores, there's already a couple of players outside of or in the lower division than the player who they are playing, who's just got maybe 1 or 2 frames. However, it does look like there's a lot of new players coming through, and I suppose the trouble with that is, and maybe you'll find it in the new season when you start, but it's hard to know what level they should be at. I mean, I'm in the bottom one, and I know that's where I should be because I'm building up. Whereas you play players in there and you think they shouldn't be in this one, but we don't really know where they should be. And that's going to take time to come out, isn't it?
Yeah, so like my friend that's just joined last night, Halborn.
Oh yeah.
He should be Premier League as well. He was semi-finalist in the Virtual Worlds.
Wow.
Plays on Master Plus a lot. Has won some of our Master Plus tournaments, and he would be Premier League. But like I said to Mike when I joined, and the same applies to Halborn, I didn't want him to put me up into the higher divisions and take someone else's spot.
Yeah.
Especially like after I was there a while ago and then left because of the time issue, etc. So I said to him, I'm quite happy to start at the bottom and earn my way up there. So same would be for Halborn. So.
That's a cool attitude to have. I think League 3 is going to be mega next season. It's just going to be unbelievable.
Yeah, there's some other names in there I know as well who are really, really good players. So.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fascinating to see how that all pans out. And in terms of, well, that's kind of the main bit really, but in terms of just, you know, what your future hopes for it are, I mean, I guess at the moment you're building your channel up from what you're saying, you've got some other interests, and now it's about, you know, doing well in the Worlds that's just started, but also you're getting established when the league starts up again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just work my way up, get into the Premier League, and see what I can do on there. So
yeah, take it from there.
Like I say, it's a lot more open on this one as well, with it being Pro Plus. So.
Yeah, seems very competitive. I think even if you look at the Premier League, I think there's, and I don't want to do a disservice if I'm catching anyone out there, but I think there's at least 4 players who still have got a chance of winning it with a couple of games left. So it seems hyper competitive at that level.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So just a bit silly really to kind of finish off, but I always just doing this daft bit of quick fire, you know, kind of choose this or that, or if you really don't like the answers you could say neither, but I'm asking everyone these. So Star Wars or Star Trek? That's my first one.
Star Wars, probably.
Oh, that's the right answer. Yeah. Cliff Orban or Alex Higgins?
I'd probably go Forburn. Yeah, I'd never took to Higgins, just like I've never taken to Ronnie.
Right. So. Yeah. I think Cliff's winning at the moment, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good. Cat or dog?
Dogs.
Dogs. You've got any dogs?
Yeah. And I don't personally, but I've just bought my daughter a puppy, so.
Oh, right. Oh, good stuff. Yeah. Oh, lovely. New York or New Zealand? City or country, basically.
I've never been to either. I'd like to go to both, but I'd probably say New York.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fantastic. And fish and chips or posh me out?
Fish and chips.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. Although I think Lee had his cake and ate it, because I think he wanted the fish and chips, but in a posh meal out. I think it was something like that.
He didn't eat fish or something. He said, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, he was clever with that, I have to say. So I think that's really concludes, you know, a bit of a get to know you, and hopefully the other guys will find it helpful to know more about you, and it just makes it more real. I think, you know, rather than the gamer tag that we've heard about, it feels like we know a bit more about you, and it's hopefully bringing some more personality to the game. So yeah, I'd like to thank you really for spending a bit of time with me around your schedule. Yeah, is there any last thoughts or last words before we wrap?
No, not really. Like I say, I've been enjoying these so far, so I'm looking forward to, like you say, getting to know all the other guys as well. Because at the moment in the WhatsApp chat, it's just a list of names, and I haven't even learned who is all the different gamer tags yet. So yeah, just getting to know everyone, isn't it? So.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, well, I'm hoping we can get as many people as possible. And if you're watching and you haven't come forward yet, let me know, and I'll bring you in, and we'll set up a recording. And it should just be fun like this, a bit light-hearted. So great. So thanks very much, RainyLamb, Scott, and you know, we'll watch with interest for the World Championships to see if you can pull this back now from the 3-1.
Hopefully. Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Take care.
Bye.